1 second, Karen. One second. I'm just sharing it out. You're going to be live. We're going to be live on Facebook the second you come in. Just so you know. All right. Okay. Hey, Casey, Mary, Beth, Mary, Cindy. All right. Karen, Star.
Hello.
A long time no see.
It has been a while.
Yes, it has. What's been
Am
going
I
on?
on? Yeah.
We're online. Yeah, if you want to share it, it's on my page. I shared it through the network.
Okay.
So we have, yeah. And so let me just tell everybody too, if you know these shows resonate with you now more than ever, please share, because I can't share, and we're
Don't want, as we are on Waves the Light Live.
so yeah, if you would,
I gotta find it first. Anyway.
Waves the Light Live.
What's that? Who's that?
I don't know, something that came up on your page. I think it was the watch party you had before.
Mm.
So I just got it on your page to try and to get it. But mine, it sort of delays a little bit, but it doesn't matter. I'll get it.
Hey, Gayatri, Charlene, how's everybody doing? Good to see everybody. Sharon McKenzie, Donna Davin, Desley Lineker, Nikki Basinko. Yeah. So we got 17 people here in the house.
Hi.
In the house.
How you been, Toddy?
Have I been?
Have you been?
I'm agitated.
Oh. What's up?
You know, it's not like an angry agitation. It's not like that. It's just, well, you know what everybody's been talking about for the last 10 days. You know, I mean, it's like, God, you know, I'm driving around today and I feel like I'm in another dimension. Like, literally, like I'm gonna, you know, like something's about to pop.
Yeah. Yeah. I've sort of noticed, I mean, there has been, you know, a few sort of ups and downs, but just today, I had a really big healing yesterday with my beautiful healer, Tamara, and an hour and a half, and she just does amazing things in the energy in your aura around you, and, you know, amazing. And today I feel really good. I slept 10.5 hours last night.
Yeah.
And yeah, just sort of, you know, to come back to yourself and in your own space and in, you know, your world that you create, and, you know, without the distractions. I think, you know, it's really grounding, and you know, that's where I am today. But not to say I haven't had, you know, the ups and downs of the past few weeks.
I really haven't had the traditional ups and downs. It's, you know, like the first 5 days of the month, I went through the biggest shift I've ever been through. It was like, came full circle, and all these incredible things happened. And like for me, the last like 2 or 3 of the last 10 days, physically, I feel it physically. You know, like it's like I'm jumping out of my skin. You know, I want to go do something, but what do you do? and then the other thing that's kind of been challenging is, like, we got the intel. Don't schedule anything. Don't do anything. Don't do anything till the end of the month. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, what are we gonna do? You know, it's, you know, I don't know. It's just like we're being asked to totally step out of these old loops, and these old loops are like your comfort zone. You know, like, you know, like it's a normal thing. And the first of the month comes, and you got to pay bills. You know, it's a normal thing. So how do you make that transition? It's fucking weird. That's all there is to it.
I know, it's all about surrender, isn't it? I know, I've noticed that sort of happening with my book, because this time last year, you know, it was all in progress, and then, you know, it really slowed down and I changed some things in it. And just now, you know, I've got the new proof back, and that seems to be, you know, all on board again. So you just, yeah, I just let things go, and, you know, they happen when they happen. You know, we've got this human attachment to a timeline and a time frame, but I found once I actually just let it go and said whatever, that now, you know, is obviously the perfect timing for it. So hopefully it'll continue like that. And it's just not living so much in the future with future expectations, just doing today and creating your peace today. And, you know, it's not worrying about the bills on the first of the month, just trusting that the flow will come, the energy flow, because it's all, if you take out time, you've got your power and your water and your rent and everything today. So it's only you projecting into the future to say that you're going to be without it, then that's what, you know, where your mind is. But if you just enjoy having them today and just trust the money flows, I just thought, for me, that's how I do it, and it just always does.
Well, it's true too. You know, after all we've all been through, it didn't kill us.
Yeah, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You know, you have a cold shower, or you're without lights and you use candles, you know, or, you know, you get a tent. It's just, I don't know. I just enjoy what you have today, and be grateful for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's true. To be grateful. Yeah, that's true, because regardless, I mean, you know, I got a great job, and I'm in a fucking incredible relationship, and I've got incredible friends, and we're all going through this together. Yeah, somebody mentioned dragons, and they're around. So that's kind of cool.
You know, you're happy today, and you've got what you need, what you want today. So, you know, enjoy it.
Right.
Just, you know, create that moment of that forever moment of the now, where you've got your joy and your peace. And, you know, the bills take us out of the now and into the future, and that's, you know, what they want, isn't it? To keep us in fear mentality, to be always worried about some future event, some future timeline, instead of actually enjoying what we have today and be grateful for. And that's actually what creates it in the future, tomorrow, all the tomorrows, you know, when we live in that vibration of gratitude and peace and love, and just appreciation and acceptance for what we have. When we're actually living that vibration, and that's what's being emitted in our energy field, like can only attract like. So you know, if you're living it today, you don't worry about the future, because you know energetically on a quantum level, it can't be anything other than it is what you're feeling right now.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling, you know, worry, and that's what you're creating to be feeling in your future as well. But I mean, you understand energy as well as I do. So, you know, you understand that you can only create your tomorrow with what you're feeling today. And on that quantum level, that's what it's going to attract.
That's right. So
and you get to a point where you just know nothing bad can happen.
True.
Nothing bad can happen, because you know how energy works.
It's just weird. That's what I've been saying all day. It's just weird. It's not weird like bad weird, just weird. It's like weird. It's like being in the Twilight Zone. So let's talk about love. And that's what you said. So yeah, and you know, watching you know, knowing you for the last year, and like I go to your page every now and then to see what you've been writing, and like 10,000 followers, man. It's like exploded. Your page has exploded. You've been putting out, you've had to been putting out more than one a day, one every couple of days.
I'm actually writing fresh stuff less now, but you know, I always recycle a few old posts every day, because I don't know, I just like to keep the energy flow on my page, and there's always someone that, you know, I feel it resonates with. I often go down to the bottom and try and do them in you know, sort of chronicle order, but sometimes my focus just goes on one post, and I understand that that's the one that's meant to go out today. So yeah, I don't write as much as I want to, but I don't have as much time to write either as I want to, as I, you know, and also because, I don't know, it's just, you know, I can't sit down and think, I've got half an hour, what will I write? You know, it just comes through and asks to be written. And, you know, I go into that heart space and literally try and express what I'm feeling. So, you know, I have to be in that feeling to be able to write. Otherwise, it doesn't work for me. You know, I can't write from my head.
No, you can't. And you said that you had some ups and downs this last month, this this month. How do you get through those things when you go into the downs?
I never go in any deep downs. And generally, yeah, I just sort of rest, you know, just do whatever I want to do, eat, go for a walk down the beach, just whatever, you know. And generally I shift in and out pretty quickly, but you just ride them, just surf the waves. And yeah, you know, the ups always come. I just sort of trust the process. I try not to analyze it too much now. I found that, you know, there was one point where we sort of wanted to analyze everything and understand why we're going through it. You know, is it the energies or the planets or, you know, our own healing? But now we just are. We just, you know, it's so much out of the head, out of the analytical and the logical. Why is this happening? It's happening, and it just happens, and you just ride it, I find. Or I process it by writing about it, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got one here. Remember this one? I just saw this.
Oh yeah, that's quite an old one now. But
Oh,
yeah,
that is an old one. I didn't know this set was an old one.
yeah, that is an old one, and I just wrote the post with it. When's that? That's back in 2017.
Isn't that
December
amazing?
2017, I wrote that post.
Yeah.
So, what did I write recently? I wrote a couple, I think, last week. Yeah, I mean, you know, if you go down, you'll see them. It's but
I like this one though. You cannot change the world, but you can change your world. Understand that you are your world. Change yourself and see your world change.
you know, that's the hologram, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know, we're always our attention it's the external is always demanding our attention, and you know, and we try and change the external world to make us feel better, but on the quantum level, when you understand you can only ever change yourself, and then you will see a different truth, or you will attract a different truth, and that's really the only way. You know, I say, what do you want to go and change? Do you want to try and change 7.5 billion people, or do you want to try and change yourself? You know, good luck with the first, if that's how you want to spend your life, you know. But yeah, you have to sort of understand that it's an energetic exchange. As I was saying in the beginning, you know, you understand that if you live in a certain vibration, you don't have to worry about the future, because you can only ever attract what you're feeling now. So it really is, you know, and it's not energy, people, circumstances, events will only come into your life that resonate with the frequency that you're emitting, you know, at any particular point.
Have you had any experience with that lately?
With what?
Attracting the like frequency into your life. I'm just messing with you.
I would like to think that, you know, I'm pretty much always in that zone. You know, I don't worry about the future, and everything always works out. Nothing bad happens, and it's all good.
How does this, looking at this one's from April 5th, 2017. And so, like, you wrote it then, right? I noticed, like, when some of my stuff comes up, like a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and I'll reread them and I'll be like, what? And it's like a totally different, I got it kind of thing. I got it moment, right? But I like this, and I don't think this just applies to relationships. male-female or male-male, female-female relationships, period. This is actually, if I look at this energetically, just a few words, he had always wanted her to be free. So he had always wanted her to be free. So she let him go. That's like, you know, you were saying surrendering earlier, right?
Yeah.
And that's that says it right there. I mean, it's like, okay, if you're gonna love me, I'm letting you go. Basically. Yeah.
Yeah, that was back, a couple of years ago, a sort of Facebook connection I had. And, you know, it was really powerful because those connections that I did have gave me an intense sort of lessons into the, you know, what conditional love is. And it paralleled my writing journey because I only started writing, you know, 2.5 years ago, November 2016.
Yeah.
So, you know, everything I write about has been my own journey. And, you know, I love the way that it paralleled that. And now, you know, sort of it helped me on a healing level, on a growth level, and, you know, being on a self-worth level, whereas I, you know, sort of found my own self-worth through my writing my heart and my truth. And so it's just been an incredible interwoven journey of those two paths merging. And, you know, who knows where it's going to go from here. But the most powerful thing is that, you know, how much it's done for me and my growth and my, you know, personal vibration and frequency. So, you know, it's just an incredible journey.
And that's on the individual level. And as far as like relationships, that's another fast tracking method. Do you find that's offers some fast tracking moments or methods?
Oh, yeah, of course, you know, and it prepared me for, you know, the relationship I'm in now. So definitely, you know, I was a completely different person even, you know, a few years ago, I guess, you know, didn't really understand what love was, you know, quite controlling and attached. And, you know, the example of love I'd been given by my parents, I thought was love, but it took me a while to realize that, you know, it wasn't love. And, you know, I don't think any of us are born with understanding what true unconditional love is. And it's part of the journey that we go through. And the only way we really learn, I think, is through pain and challenges and growth. So, you know, we experience these dysfunctional relationships to grow from them. And when we can, instead of looking back at them and seeing the pain, understand the lessons and the growth that we could come to. And then, you know, it's so much easier to forgive and have gratitude. You know, I'm so grateful now for all my dysfunctional relationships, you know, even my marriage that was abusive. It's so much gratitude because that's what made me who I am today. And obviously I attracted that at the time because I didn't love myself. And so I was abusing myself in some way. And so he was a mirror for me to finally sort of wake up and say, well, hell no, you know, I do deserve something better, but it took a long time, you know, but now I just see how grateful I am for the journey, you know.
Yeah, I think it took a lot of us a long time.
Yeah.
You know? And I can relate to that too. So maybe the old relationships, as valuable as they were the slow track. And
oh, definitely. I mean, how would we know now? You know, all these things that make our journey easier now. You know, when we know about the you know, the love is freedom, and we're not trying to control the other, we're accepting them for as they are. When we're triggered, we're bringing it back to us and say, well, you know, what do I have to change? Or it's something about our partner that we don't like. You know, we're not saying, hey, you have to change. You know, we're bringing it back and saying, well, how can I be more accepting?
Yeah.
I mean, I always say there's if I'm feeling triggered or something, there's two things to look at. There's either how can I be more loving towards you, or how can I be more self-honoring to myself? And I find it's sort of a mixture of both. Sometimes if you're feeling frustrated in a situation, it's because maybe you need to honor yourself more.
Yeah.
instead of that person changing. It's you have to take a step back and either give yourself some more time or, you know, decide what you're going to accept or not accept. And other times, yeah, we're not loving enough towards our partner. So, you know, one or the other. It's always one of those, I found.
Yeah.
To always
like
bring
that.
it back and ask yourself the questions.
So you either ask yourself, well, you ask yourself both questions. So you ask yourself, how can I be more loving towards you? And how can I be more self-honoring to myself? And you find that it's kind of a mixture of both. And so like—
No, I usually find it's one of them. I
oh,
say,
one of them.
yeah, is it in this situation where I'm feeling emotionally uncomfortable or triggered or frustrated or whatever it is, do I have to, is it something I have to honor myself more in, or is it something that I need to be more loving towards whoever it is that's triggering me?
And doing that, and maybe that's the difference between those old relationships and the new ones, is we are taking it into ourselves. So that's why it is a fast track, because it moves faster. You know, it doesn't always, you still feel some of the discomfort, but it moves faster. And I think that's that's one of the values of these present day relationships.
Oh, definitely. But everything's being fast tracked now. You know, I mean, time is speeding up, and you know, I think as we raise energetically as humanity and individually, everything fast tracks. You know, sort of the higher we go, where, you know, time speeds up more and more. And so, yeah, it just, you just go with it, you know, just.
It is speeding up. It's freaky.
It is, yeah.
Freaky.
It is. I mean, we're already over halfway the year, you know, there'll be Christmas decorations up soon.
So, I mean, but going back and looking at this month, I mean, and I know we've said this before, because I feel like I'm in deja vu with you, right? But I mean, like, this month is, what happened? I mean, it's just
already
like,
over. It's 1st of August tomorrow here.
Oh,
we're
yeah.
already at the end of the month, so yeah.
Did you have substantial transformation, substantial growth this month?
Oh, look, you know, I wouldn't say huge amounts, but obviously, you know, enough. Jason was out in Australia for 5 weeks, so we spent most of that time together.
Oh, really?
So obviously, you know, there was growth there.
What do you mean it was great? Was it good?
There was, because usually, you know, I go over there and we've sort of only spent sort of, you know, a week together or less. And now, you know, we had a solid month. So yeah, that was good. That was great.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool.
So, you know, there was obviously things there, but all in all, you know, I think there wasn't anything major, just, you know, accepting and coming together and
it's all in the laugh. It's all in the laugh. Yeah. But that's another thing too. I mean, I don't want to get into that too much, but I mean, and when I use the word intimacy, I don't just mean, you know, getting under the covers buck naked or nothing. I just mean the intimacy in these new relationships is profound. I mean, it's like, you know, like you're having this physical interaction, whether it be holding hands or taking a walk or, you know, other things. And it's like these transmissions and downloads, like a big door opens. You know what I mean? Do you experience that? Do you experience that?
Oh yeah, you know, it's yeah, we're still pretty grounded at the moment. You know, we're not so much up in the the high dimensions. You know, just grounding everything and you know, making good foundations, creating good foundations, growth, building. We, you know, I mean, personally, I'm not so much focused on that. You know, we're just enjoying the moment and just sort of enjoying the human experience more than anything.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, you know, it's I like to be reminded that, because, you know, we came down for this human experience, and, you know, I'm very earthy and very grounded, and I feel more comfortable actually, you know, grounded, solid, not so much up in the, I don't know, in the ethers, I guess. I like to keep bringing it back down to earth. I do feel that I am here as a human, I don't know, a human voice, I guess. You know, I don't get those downloads, intergalactic downloads and things. So everything just comes through my heart. Everything that I write about or speak is just, you know, connecting to me in the high ethers, not anyone else, you know. And I just believe that, I don't know, everyone else that gets their intel from other sources, you know, I wonder if that's just a fractal of themselves. And and, you know, I don't know, I've never been drawn to that. I've just always gone inside into my heart and connected with source, and and oh, voice got all croaky, and just brought the whatever needs to come through my own self, you know.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, a lot of the stuff that I wrote in the early days, and I know the stuff that you wrote, because we did that series of shows when we first met for a few months. Because your inspiration, really, that's the right word. The inspiration was the pain, the suffering, the lessons, and I can relate to that. I think many writers and artists can. So now being in a present day relationship and the frequency of that, you know, the vibration of that, as you still are putting stuff out, because I haven't been putting stuff out. How has that changed? How's it affected, you know, your expression? I mean, do you feel there is deep, you know, because there was some deep stuff that we all plugged into when we woke up, that darkness converting to light, and you know, and really reaching down and feeling all that pain and the suffering and the sacrifice, and now we're in this other thing where it's bliss and joy and happiness and love and humor, you know.
Well, yeah, as I said, I am writing less, but I do write when I'm guided to write, and generally I write. As I said, I've never been a writer that, you know, oh, everything is perfect and I'm sitting here in this beautiful love bubble. It's always a form of processing. And so I do write whenever I'm, you know, going through something emotional or I'm triggered by something. And often I won't write about it in the moment, because I'm very aware of integrity with the relationship. You know, I'm never going to write, if I'm feeling like really cranky one day, I'm not going to whack out a post, you know,
Right.
that I would regret later, you know. So I always wait until I've actually processed it and come to some positive form, and then I generally, you know.
So
then
you do get cranky.
Oh yeah, I have my moments.
I know. I saw an old friend of mine back from Houston, a young lady. And she had gotten into a relationship, and I didn't see her that much. You know, I just don't check the newsfeed that much. But I saw where she got in this relationship, and she was like testifying about how much she loved this guy and how great he was. And then like 3 or 4 days later, she's just blasting. And I'm thinking, this isn't even like, you know, something that should be put out there. So blatantly, much, you know, I mean, even if you do it subtly, the energy's so high, you can read between the lines anyway. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
I find it a beautiful challenge with my writing to find that that fine line, how far I can, well, not push it, how far I can take it to be real, raw, authentic, and gritty, and express my truth while keeping the integrity of the relationship, obviously, and not doing anything that's going to be, you know, hurt any other party, you know.
Yeah.
So I find it, and I love that challenge, you know. But you know, obviously, I would never write anything at the expense of Jason or anyone else, you know, as much as sometimes I might feel it, but I would never do it. You know, I mean, my other writing in the past, that was usually like, you know, those connections where it had these rapid session of love lessons. Usually they'd be ending or finishing, you know, and I could put out that stuff. And I guess people didn't really know who they were. And, you know, I wasn't sort of on here talking. So, you know, it was a different situation. And that stuff, that old stuff that I used to put out, you know, that's not something I'd write now because it's not something I experience now. So I'm really grateful that that happened back then at the time.
Yeah.
You know, I can still relate to them when if I put them out and read them, and I can remember exactly where I was, and it's totally different situation, you know, to now. So
that's what I was talking about earlier. I go back, these things pop up, and I have this habit. I'll copy them and paste them on my clipboard, and then I'll go look at them, and I'll read them really slow, and most of the time I just delete them. And I'm like, that was then, this is now. And other times, even though it was a personal experience, and I remember what was happening at the time, I might change a few words and make a new post out of it because there is a message in all these experiences, you know, just like with your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't change any of my old posts because I just know that was my pure heart speak at the time. And to change it or edit it would take away from that vibration that came through at the time. And even though I might go back and not be feeling that now, I understand that, you know, someone around the world is. So, you know, maybe they're going to resonate with something I went through a year ago, or maybe I read a post that I resonate with someone who, you know, so I do like to keep my posts as they are and just, because, you know, it is expressing the pure feeling of that moment. You know, it's not something that was created in the head, and, you know, you can't go and edit your feelings that you had, you know, whenever.
Yeah.
And it was part of the journey that, as I said, you know, always grateful for. So because those experiences made me into who I am today and able to have a relatively, you know, smooth relationship. And I mean, every relationship, I believe, has challenges. And I actually enjoy the challenges because I know I'm going to grow from them. You know, if I'm challenged by something, I'll often just take a step back and just go through everything, you know, that I do write about and just bring, well, you know, what do I have to do? How can I shift this without, you know, asking him to change? What do I have to do?
Yeah.
And, you know, and I will arrive at a solution. And it's really good when you can, you know, as I said, often it's just coming back into that self-honor.
So that's a new thing too, right? Because like, I know like when my relationship first started and certain dynamics would come out, I only knew how to react a certain way, which had nothing to do with my partner, had to do with my history, right? And so like, you know, then on the individual journey, you figure out these ways to integrate and you know, in balance, you know, in that solitude. And then you have this other person come in, and it is a different. It's a different kind of thing where, I guess in a way, you move to a point where everything's put on the table, whether you like it or not. Right.
And see, I really think it's all about walking the talk. You know, it's so easy for us or for anyone to write all this spiritual stuff or this, you know, emotional stuff and, you know, non-attachment, forgiveness, all this stuff. But can we actually walk the talk? And, you know, can we actually embody it? And this is, you know, I always find, you know, you wake up and you want to change the world, and then you understand, well, no, actually it's me that has to change, and that this is about the embodiment. And I really think, you know, 99% of the journey is about embodiment. You know, once you get it, and you know, you can see all these posts on Facebook and resonate with them and understand them on a mental level. But can you walk your talk? You know, if you're triggered, can you bring it back to yourself and not, you know, blame your partner? And, you know, it's just all these things, and it's just a continual challenge and growth. And, you know, unless we are challenged, it's how are we going to grow, you know, unless we're feeling this discomfort and you know, looking for a solution within ourselves instead of blasting our partner or getting them to change. You know, how are we going to learn to embody this stuff? So, you know, everything is, every trigger, every challenge is something to be grateful for. And I actually welcome them, you know, and it's like, okay, well, you know, what do I have to do to deal with this? And how can I embody, you know, what I'm writing about? You know, I mean, I write about, as I said, I write about everything that's happening, but, you know, it's a bit of a yo-yo. It's easy to slip back into our human and forget about it. And it's, you know, we can come back and remind ourselves that, hang on, take a deep breath. You know, what do I have to do to embody all this stuff that, you know, we're writing about and sharing?
Yeah. And if you're like me, sometimes you got to growl and grunt and scream and holler.
I usually go quiet if I'm it depends. I've got 2 teenagers. This reminds me, yesterday, we're pretty good, we're pretty cruisy. My youngest one challenges me sometimes, and it's not often, but just yesterday we sort of had a little flare up, and it was funny because my eldest one, who's actually really awake,
Now, how old are they? How old are they?
he was the one sitting in the kitchen with me and saying, yes, Mum, okay, you know, like, and really calming me down and, you know, speaking to me like, well, why are you attached to that? And, you know, this.
Saying that to you?
Yeah. He's like, you know, well, why are you feeling like that?
How old? How old?
He's nearly 20 next month. He's 19, yeah.
And the other one?
Yeah. Sorry?
How old's the other one?
17.
So this was the older one, the awake one, the awakened one. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's that like? What's that like going through this? I mean, I've known you for over a year, but I mean, what's it like going through, well, you know, the community that we share, you know, being exposed to all the different people and the, you know, the things they bring to the table and our own personal growth. What does that look like from your eyes with your 20-year-old through the last couple of years? Do you see the same type of growth and recognition within them by their own, you know, their own perception of themselves? Or are they talking about it, or is it just normal life for them?
Oh, it's pretty much normal life for them. You know, he's just come back from 6 months traveling overseas, but he's a sort of a quiet, awakened person. You know, not all of his, well, I don't think any of his friends are really on that sort of, I guess, level of awakeness, even though, you know, I ask him and a few of them are. But so he sort of keeps to himself. He'll read, you know, Eckhart Tolle and a whole heap of books, but he does his own sort of inner growth. But, you know, he does talk to me and we share stuff, and he's just so calm, and, you know, it's like, it's amazing. So when I do get riled up, you know, he just give me a hug and say, you know, what's the matter, Mum? Yeah. And it's really, yeah, it's beautiful. But, you know, I mean, you know, obviously I love them both the same, but they're just so different. And, you know, and they're both teachers and they're both beautiful. And to have 2 just completely different kids, you know, they're bringing in different lessons, and you just got to love it, you know. And, you know, I always, as much as we choose our parents, you know, it's a mutual thing where the kids have got so much to teach us if we really look at the lessons and look at the, you know, even the core wounds, the connections, you know, all these soul contracts we have that we bring in. You know, this energy healer I went to yesterday, she was really pointing them out. And even between me and Jason, you know, we've got so many similar things in our families. It's really like, you know, mirrors for each other. And even understanding that between, you know, our kids and our parents, and you know, really healing on a family level and also a generational level is when you really look at the wounds of the family is pretty amazing, you know. And I often think that us awakened ones have come through, you know, to heal the timelines, heal the generations, to stop the cycle of, you know, whatever it is that's going on with your family. So, you know, that's that's what we chose to come here and do. So, you know, and we had to experience the pain to be able to bring it into love. Transmute it into love. So we had to be in that fearful place, as all our family members have been, but we've been the ones that have transmuted it into love. It's ended with us. And so when we've healed ourselves, we've healed our whole, you know, generational timeline. And, you know, we've all come in with such core wounds and such a difficult, painful journey, as I know most people do. But, you know, when you hear the stories of a lot of the awakened people, what it took to get to this point. And again, that's coming to gratitude for that pain, so we could transmute it and be who we are today. And, you know, when there's so many of us, and you think that what we're doing for all of our timelines, all of our family generations before us, you know, look at the work we're doing. That's so powerful. We're transmuting all that darkness of our family generation into light. And look how that's changing the planet, you know. So
Very cool.
it's, you know, we've all come in with those wounds for a reason. And we chose to be born into those families. We had to come into with a low, dense frequency, well, I find, to raise it. And, you know, if we were all came in as a high frequency, you know, that we're not transmuting that darkness into light.
There'd be no work to do.
Definitely.
So I find it intriguing. So you and Jason, I wasn't going to mention any names, but you did. So
everyone knows now.
Everyone knows. Yeah, I know. All they got to do is look at your post. So like you both have this edgy thing, which I relate to. I really like the edgy thing, you know, kind of an edgy thing, like with his graphics and your words.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of edgy. But then you're like saying, well, you're very earthy and very organic. And he's absolutely an alien. But that's polarities, right? I mean, am I wrong? He's like, you know, he's out there.
You know, he's the first to say that he's here on a very human level as well. You know, so even though, you know, he posts a lot about, you know, higher energy stuff, higher truths, you know, he'd be the first to tell you that he's here on a human level. And I feel like with myself, just, you know, what we've just been talking about, we can only experience, I feel we can only transmute all the darkness and everything that we've come here to heal into light by being in our humanness, you know. We can be a conscious human. We can be a high energy, high frequency human, but we've come here to be human and experience human emotions, because that's a quality that I believe is just very human. So, you know, it's on planet Earth, we're humans. So, you know, I've no desire to, at this point, to be anything else than just enjoy the human experience and come here for, you know, whatever I feel that I was here to do. And, you know, Jason's the same. You know, it's we're very much in our awake hours on planet. I can't say when we're asleep. I know we go off planet, but, you know, in our awakens, in our, you know, day-to-day life, where we're just grounded humans and just, you know, transmuting the light the best we can.
Yeah. I mean, just from the, I don't want to say the old human perspective, but and not really about, you know, specifically about your relationship, but just as an individual, has your relationship like blown the socks off you? I mean, has it like surpassed any expectations you had? You know, given the experience that you had and I had and we all had in our past relationships, like, where's the limit to it? You know, like it's, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, has it surprised you how good, not so much how good it has been, but the possibilities of what it can be? And I'm talking frequency, I'm talking energy,
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, we're still separated physically most of the time. And I trust that's for the reason it is, maybe another year or so. So, we still, I mean, it's the best relationship I've ever had for sure. But, I know I've earned it from the work I've done.
Yeah.
So it's not just, oh, I got lucky this time.
Yeah.
I did the inner work. I've come to understand, unconditional love and, always bring it back to myself instead of changing the partner. So, I can thank myself for it because, I attracted it through my growth. But yeah, for sure, I mean, I know we're meant to be together and, it's only going to go higher and higher from here. So, as I said, we're still enjoying doing the groundwork and just being together and connecting on a human level. We're just, wherever it takes us, it'll take us.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a great question in my head and I can't remember what it was now. But it had to do with oh, well, I know what I was going to say. It was really cool. I was thinking today or last night, the human in me was like, oh, you're not doing enough. And, you need to finish this damn website. You need to do this, you need to do that. And then I saw, like going through the news feed, I saw different people from all over the world that had connected through Soulogy. And do I have proof of that? No, but I can tell because I can just tell. And I'm like, that's it, And so I remember I was there when we were doing shows and he popped in.
Yeah.
And see, because he's like Morgan, he doesn't talk a lot, right?
Well, he does in real life, but yeah.
He does. And as the days go by, she does too. Don't get me wrong. But so like publicly, he doesn't say much. She doesn't say much. So when they do, it's like, sorry. And I remember seeing it, but I was doing a show and then, and I didn't really notice it. I noticed his name because he would always come on the show. But anytime we did a show with you, he was always there and he was always making comments. And then Morgan said to me, I think somebody likes somebody.
Yeah, we connected through one of my shows through you, Toddy. So, thank you for that. That was, you were the portal for us meeting. And, it went a bit slow after that, but, there's definitely the connection, but we were both not in a hurry. And it was actually only a year ago, a couple of days ago, that I went over for the first time and we met physically.
Has it been a year already?
Well, it's been April was when we first met, but physically a year ago.
You went over there. It's already been a year?
God. Yeah.
That's amazing. You're right. Time is flying.
Yeah.
Time is flying.
When you can just see, I can just see him as a part of me. And I know maybe that sounds corny, but I can I guess, I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, I can only describe it. I can't speak as fluently as I can write because I'm in my head now. And when I write, I'm coming from my heart. And I've never been an extrovert. And, I mean, I've done a few shows with you now. And even today, my son, Sammy, said to me, are you nervous, Mum? I was like, no, whatever happens, happens. I'm sort of past that point. But I do find it hard to more difficult to express stuff verbally than the written that I do.
Well, and those kind of subjects too. I mean, because anything with these new frequencies and new awarenesses, they're not easy to describe. They're really not.
It's not because it's a feeling. And this is why, poetry I find works, or, the prose I write, it's not your traditional sort of, written work anymore. It's just sort of trying to put those feelings, which are hard to describe, in some format, written format. And that's, you know, that's what I do. So yeah, it is harder to actually, and you know, when you're spending time, when you live in the now, you forget about what happened yesterday. You know, you've let it go already. You're not worried about what's happening tomorrow. So
you can even remember. I can't even remember.
yeah, if someone asks you to, well, what were you going through last week? You know, I can't even think of that or remember it, you know, because it's long gone. You know, I don't bring anything with me. I'm pretty good at letting stuff go and just, you know, just creating my world now.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you, I didn't mean to talk to you about this, but since you've been talking about it, and everybody knows now. Now, have you noticed, or do you feel there's been like a third energy birth between you? Because you're both kind of, well, you're both artistic. I mean, he's kind of a galactic artistic, you know, with the images and the stuff he comes out with. You know, sometimes I look at him going, like, what the hell? Now I got to go research something to know what the hell he's talking about. But you're both kind of edgy. You take you're not afraid of the darkness, you know, and you have your own unique and sometimes similar artistic expressions.
Because I nicked some of his pictures.
I noticed that. So like, you know, I mean, it's interesting to see that. But do you feel like he obviously has influenced you because you view some of his pictures? Yeah. And vice versa, I'm sure.
If I like a picture, you know, I mean, I've got a huge picture collection. So when I write a post, I'll write it first and then I'll go and look for a picture that, you know, and again, that the picture has to really resonate with what I'm feeling for me to post it. I won't just post any random picture. In fact, there was one post I wrote last week, which took me a good week to find the picture that I found was appropriate for the post and describe and showed visually exactly what I was trying to express.
Right.
And even though it wasn't maybe exactly, it was the closest I felt I was going to get. So yeah, you know, I'll be, if I like a picture, I'll just keep it, and you know, maybe I'll use it at some point, maybe I won't, but you know, I do like to represent exactly, you know, the sentiment that I'm feeling, that I'm writing about.
Well, I'll say this: he's got good taste, and so do you, as far as the images go, which is really cool. Both y'all have good taste. So, what's in store? I mean, you have your book coming out. Where's that stand?
I don't know when it'll be out, but we're definitely in there. We've done the proofread, and a human proofread instead of a computer, which sent me back my poetry initially a year ago with a whole lot of red lines and connections. I mean, how can a computer correct poetry? So again, it was a blessing, because I actually originally I had the 7 chapters and I had a different title. And then by then I'd written a whole lot of more poetry, and I'd met Jason. And so it was really nice to be able to add a few more chapters and give the story a sort of, you know, an ending for now, I guess, sort of that the whole journey into love, and then having found it at the end. And I've renamed the book to, And Then I Met You, instead of what I originally had, Surrender to Love. So, you know, it was a blessing, and this is why, you know, we think we're banging our head against a brick wall, or that, you know, what we want is being hijacked. But if I'd have brought the book out a year ago, it'd be a totally different book than what's going to come out later this year, you know, and because now I've included the poems that I wrote since meeting Jason. Well, not all of them, only the ones up to probably, you know, 9 months ago, I guess. So I've still got material for another book, but you know, so you just got to trust when you hit a brick wall that it's meant to be. And when we look back in retrospect, you know, we understand why. And part of the journey, I think, is understanding and trusting at the moment it happens, even though you don't know why, that it's for a greater good, a greater purpose, and which is exactly, you know, what happened with the book.
I look forward to seeing it come out, and even the second one. Is there a specific poem or prose that he inspired or your relationship inspired that's like your favorite?
My favorite. Oh, wow. In fact, I was looking through them, proofreading this book, all of them, because they're all a special moment that came to be expressed. But, you could probably go on my poetry page, any of the recent ones, and just pick any, and, that would,
Yeah. I
do have one absolute favorite, and it was one of the very first that came through in meditation, and it's Dream Man, and it came through in, I think, December 2016. But if I had to choose, even though, as I said, I've got most of them are my favorites, if I had to pick one, I guess, that was just so amazing when it came through, because I'd never written anything, and I was still like blown away the fact that I'd written it. It was still very new. I still wasn't really. I published it on posted it on Facebook, and I didn't have. I wasn't even in the spiritual community, I don't think. So, but that was pretty cool. I was just waiting, for him to come through. But I was connecting on the higher levels and during sleep. I think it's something like, I have to try and remember it, but it's called Dream Man, so I'll try and remember it. You don't exist, her demon snickered, laughing in her face. That one you call your dream man, a ploy to keep the boys away. But as she softly closed her eyes, her anticipation grew. I can't remember it. I can read it. I can get it.
No, I got you. I remember that one. I remember. But was there one since you met him that speaks to you the most about him or about y'all?
Okay, well, there was one that I had to choose for the ending of my book, because when it was sort of, when I read the proof, it was one that let me just go on and see which one jumped. You want me to read one? Is that what it is?
Read that one. We'll close out like that.
All right. So I actually changed it and chose a new one.
Is it one of those hot ones?
No, I can read a hot one if you want.
No,
but it wasn't actually. It was just one called Reunited that I chose to end the book with.
And this was after you met him.
Yeah. I've written a lot. I've written probably 40 or so after I met him. All right, let me just choose one. Do you want a hot one, do you?
No. Do the one that best speaks to you and Jason, or about you and Jason.
All right, it's a very short one, so I'll just have to find it because I haven't posted it for a while. Let me just find it. It's called Reunited. I'm going to end the book with it, even though it's very short, but I think it just really sums up the situation well. Here we are. It's that picture one there.
Oh, that's I had that one. That's a minute ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just says, you saw me, I felt you, I invited you in. You opened me, you entered me, our journey began. Deeper and deeper, you filled me with love, our rapture, our heaven, the merging of us, delighting, exciting, surrender to pain, an explosion of love, hearts reunited once again.
That's pretty hot.
And it does have, if you look into it, there's sort of, the sexual journey as well. It's, most of my poems have got deeper and deeper levels in them. So
yeah, that was multi-dimensional deeper. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, very cool. Well, I'm gonna send him a note, and I'm gonna see if I can get him to come on again.
You do that, that'd be great.
If I ever get him on, it's going to be like a 2.5, 3 hour episode, because I'll probably never get the chance again.
Yeah. Oh no, I think once you get him on that first time, you won't shut him up.
Well, I enjoyed talking to him last year. It was about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and it seemed like 20 minutes sitting in the backyard, having a beer and a cigarette. It's just like talking to myself.
Keep on to him. So he'll do it when the time's ready, I'm sure.
Yeah, he will. I know he will. Well, I appreciate it, Karen. It's good seeing you again.
You too, Toby. Thank you.
You take care. Thank you for being you.
All right.
I'll see you.
Okay.
Bye.